Hey, what's up guys? DJ here from TechTonix back with another video, and today I'm going to talk about the Google Keynote that just happened. So Google just announced a bunch of new stuff. Some of it I'm not going to go into super detail about until later release dates, but for now I'm going to talk about the top 5 biggest things announced at the Google Keynote, so let's get started. First off, before we get into any of the event stuff, I'd like to talk about the Silicon Valley intro that Google did for their keynote. It was hilarious. If you're not watching Silicon Valley, I highly recommend you watch the show. The opening was just super on point, and if you know these two characters, Dinesh and Guilfoyle, you know they go back to back all the time. Personally, I think this opening was better than the Carpool Karaoke opening that Apple had at their event, so that was totally awesome, and I'm really glad that Google did that. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to talk about is the new Google Assistant. So this pretty much takes the place of Google Now. This is somewhat of a new take for Google. So Google Assistant is basically a kind of slightly better version of Google Now. It does pretty much all the same stuff, but slightly more personal than it was ever before. If you've seen the Allo messaging app, then you've already been exposed to Google Assistant and you are familiar with what it can do. Google is still the champ at natural language learning, and it does a much better job than Siri, in my opinion, when it comes to understanding natural speech. The biggest difference that you'll notice is that now when you ask questions for the Google Assistant, it shows up in a more conversational speech. So now when you ask questions, it kind of reminds you of Google Allo. You can definitely see Google being more cohesive with their design language. The next thing I want to talk about is Google Wi-Fi. Google Wi-Fi is essentially a Wi-Fi extender slash repeater. It doesn't really do anything groundbreaking. If you're familiar with the world of tech, you've seen this before. The difference now is that Google promises a much more cohesive, fluent transition between Wi-Fi points. The goal is not only coverage, but to be able to go from access point to access point while seamlessly using your Wi-Fi connection. Google's VP of Product Management says that Google is targeting a 150 millisecond transition time. So if you're doing a video chat, for example, and you're walking through your house, you should see no drops whatsoever. Some of you might be asking, so what about my OnHub? Is it now obsolete? Do I have to buy this instead? No, don't worry, you're just fine. Google OnHub isn't going anywhere. In fact, OnHub and Google Wi-Fi can work seamlessly together. This is not a replacement for OnHub. If anything, it's an extension of the product. I'm most likely going to stick to the router I already have, but for those of you looking to buy a new Wi-Fi extender, it costs $129 by itself, or you can buy a 3-pack for $299. Pre-orders start in November and it ships this December. The next thing I want to talk about is Google Home. So Google is basically competing head-to-head with Amazon's Alexa with this product. It's very sleek and nice looking and fits anywhere in your home. There have been plenty of jokes about how this thing looks like an air freshener, and I kind of agree, but nonetheless, Google definitely did a good job designing this device. What really sets this apart from Alexa is just how smart Google Home is. You can have multiple homes in your house, and whichever one is the closest to you will respond. You can even say things like, play that one song from Taylor Swift, and sure enough, Google will activate your Chromecast and play a Taylor Swift song. It really is smart. It only supports a few stuff at launch like YouTube, Spotify, Pandora, Google Play Music, Nest, and some other devices. But of course, more stuff is coming along the way. Next up, I want to talk about Chromecast Ultra. The new Chromecast device supports HDR, Dolby Vision, and 4K content. You heard me, 4K content. It basically works the same way as the previous Chromecast. Just plug it into your TV and cast away. Another difference is that now you can use an Ethernet port that's attached to the power adapter, just in case you're like me and you prefer a hardwired connection. We'll see how well the new Chromecast handles 4K streaming this fall in November at $69. Next up is Google's new VR headset, the Daydream View. Back in Google I/O in May, Google announced their VR platform Daydream, so this isn't really a surprise. But now we get to see their first feature headset. The device is made of foam and soft fabric, with a hinged plastic panel where you're supposed to place your Android phone. It weighs about 220 grams, which is a lot lighter than some of the other competitors out there. The whole idea of the Daydream View is a VR headset that people can just pull out and use whenever they want. It's one of those ideas that sounds great in theory, But in practice, I'm not sure how many people will rush out to buy one of these just so they can use VR. VR is one of those technologies that is still kind of in its infancy stage, and while I'm sure Google is very optimistic on the outcome, I'm not too sure people will rush out to buy this. Pre-orders for the Daydream start October 20th through the Google Store and launch early November in Canada, Germany, Australia, the US, and the UK. Last but not least, the Google Pixel and the Google Pixel XL. After countless leaks, they're finally here. Now let's get this out of the way right now. Yes, the Pixel and the Pixel XL look like the iPhone. Yes, it's very, very similar, and some people might argue that they don't look as good as the 6P from last year, but it really doesn't matter. Personally, I'm still going to buy one anyways because I love stock Android and it's the latest and greatest from Google. The Pixel is a 5-inch 1080p AMOLED smartphone, while the XL is a 5.5-inch Quad HD AMOLED smartphone. Both have 4 gigs of RAM, the Snapdragon 821, and they both start at 32 gigs of storage and go up to 128 gigs of storage. Of course, they both use USB-C to charge, and they have the fingerprint sensor on the back, just like the 6P from last year. Google promises 7 hours of usage just from 15 minutes of charging, which is really impressive, but I'll wait for the reviews to come out before I make final judgment on that. Google announced that if you take a picture on the Pixel or the Pixel XL, you get full resolution on Google Photos for life. No compressed videos, full resolution, which is amazing. You also get 24-hour customer support. Now, these phones aren't cheap. The Pixel starts at $649 for the 32 gig and goes up to $749 for the 128 gig. The Pixel XL starts at $769 for the 32 gig and goes up to $869 for the 128 gig. But that's it, guys. There you have it, all the really big details that came out at the Google Keynote today. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure you like and subscribe if you haven't already. Leave a comment down below on what you really liked about the Google Keynote, and I'll see you guys next time.